for about 33 years, something like that. And I'm a born intuitive. So that means that I'm an empath. I don't know how many of you are empaths, but sensitive to outside stuff. And one of the things that I've noticed, this is a presentation, we discussed this, on the aspect of chakras as they're muting, they're changing and morphing, they're not staying the same. So what I have found when I first started in this field, chakras, all of the information that we had on chakras was coming out of our old Sanskrit information out of India, okay? And it was the basic, you have 7 major chakras in the body, and the colors were red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet as we come up to the top. And those were the basic chakras. And when I started working, because I was working with a spirit teacher named Master Tiemann at the time, he moved the indigo, or got rid of the indigo and created it into violet up here, and golden white became the frequency at the top of the head. So let me explain a little bit about what the word frequency means to me, because again, when I first started, and how most of the chakras are depicted when we're looking at like pictures, because they're pictures, is it's a color. It's like that's orange or that's red and this rug is blue. We identify that, and it's a visual aspect. But what I've learned in working with chakras is that chakras are not a visual aspect, they're a frequency. They're a frequency or a vibration. And if you really take it the next step, if you remember like in junior high, like, I don't know, 8th, 9th, 10th grade, somewhere around there, they started talking to you about like the sound frequency, remember? And red had a low, kind of went like this, and purple had a much faster vibration, that's the frequency. And so it's representational of color. So when we think about chakras, even if we want to stay with the Sanskrit aspect of it, what we're talking about is not the visual aspect of color, but the frequency of color itself. So if you wanted to like work with colors within your body, you wouldn't visualize the color, you would think red, and you would let the frequency of the red start to morph itself into the body. Does that make sense? I mean, that's so I've been playing with this for a while. And what I found once I reached that level, so that it wasn't visual any longer, it was vibrational or representational frequency, what I found was that probably starting about 20 years ago, is that people no longer had the Sanskrit colors anyway. They didn't have the red and the orange and the yellow. Now let's think about the box of crayons. Let's go back to when we were very small. And the box of crayons, I mean, in my day, we had 7 colors. Oh, I guess we had 9 because we had black and white also. But we had like the chakra colors of crayons, and that's, you have the small box. And as I got older, they got 32 colors, and then my God, they got 64 colors of crayons, and I thought life had become a blossom of wonderfulness. So I want you to think about that, because what that means is, when I was a kid, that meant that when we went to the hardware store and wanted to get paint, we said I would like red, and they said, would you like this red or that red? And there was maybe 1 or 2 reds, okay? There were maybe 1 or 2 yellows. There was maybe, now if you went to the hardware store and you said I want red, there's a whole palette of red, correct? Okay. God bless, Ralph Lauren. Anyway. So what I found was, is there like a correlation? Is it random? Is it serendipitous that the paint chips in the hardware store have morphed and like multiplied? Is it a reflection of who we have become, or is it just random? And what I think has happened is it's not random. I think it's very much a reflection of who we are and how we've changed. So that means that now, because when we start getting into different frequencies or colors of red, as opposed to primary or secondary colors, okay, what we've gotten are, we have multiplicity, or what we call harmonics, and when we're doing vibrational healing. Harmonics is the agreement or the addition of a secondary and a 3rd color or a 4th color that creates, or a 3rd frequency, that's creating an entirely different vibration. So that means that each of you, one of you may have a red for a first chakra color, like really red. One of you may have it a little bit more going into the tangerine range. One of you might have a color that's a little more magenta. And as we go into the oranges do the same kind of thing. They might go tangerine, they may go a little apricot. You with me? All of these frequencies mean that colors are changing, and the colors are changing because the frequencies within our body have completely morphed and changed, and they're adapting to the vibration or the ascension, the frequency that we're creating on this planet. So some of us got here and we didn't really come from physicality. You know, we may have come from the star planet, or we may have come from somewhere else. I know there's, about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 9 of us here that probably didn't come from here. Anyway, do you understand what I'm saying? So we need to be reflecting those colors. And so when we try to adapt or make ourselves homogenous with the society that's still working on that palette of those 7 major colors, those secondary primaries, we're doing ourselves a disservice because we don't vibrate on those colors to begin with. Got it? So, I mean, I know we all feel different here because that's why we're here. But do you understand? But it's the difference of that. So what I've learned is, in working with, because I do crystal healing, so I'm putting crystals on the body, I can't place, a red on the first chakra or an orange color in the carnelian necessarily on the second chakra. I have to kind of play with the colors a little bit. One of the other things, and I want to throw this in, I'm sorry, I didn't even start to see how much time am I going.
You're at like 6 or 7 right now.
Okay. One of the other things that started to happen, and this was happening about 15, 17 years ago, somewhere around there. What I saw was the third chakra, which is about consciousness and personality and ego, that kind of thing, and its frequency is yellow. What I found it doing is that it was expanding itself. Now, if we think of consciousness not as how well we think or how good we are at math, but if we think of consciousness as how we ascend or raise the level of how we perceive reality, and we raise that frequency up and we take it into higher consciousness, okay? That means that that frequency of yellow, the conscious level, is morphing, and it's been expanding and coming up through the chakras. So about 17 years ago, what happened was the yellow started to morph into the 4th chakra, which has a frequency of green. And this whole area from about, the belly button up to here became lime. Not green, not yellow, the whole thing. I mean, if you would look at like a rainbow, like tie-dye, it's like down here, and then it gets a little more, this color becomes stronger, and then it kind of starts to bleed out again at the top. So this is still very green, this is still very yellow, but somewhere in the middle here, everything has started to become lime green. And what that's doing is it's raising consciousness and bringing personality, which is the personality relationship with the divine. At 4th chakra, it's bringing consciousness and relationship with the divine into alignment. And that started happening about 17 years ago. How old are you guys?
22.
6. Okay. Congratulations. You have a line thing. Okay. Do you understand? Because that's what we're doing. It's like as we shift and change vibrationally within our bodies, we're shifting and changing the frequency on the planet. I know sometimes it doesn't seem like that because of what's going on out there. Don't pay attention. It's all a bunch of bullshit. It's lies, and it's contrived as lies, and it's like, let it go. But if you're feeling or experiencing this change, the vibrational change in the body, then play with that. See how things start to work within the body. Why do we like lime? What's the deal with apricot as opposed to orange or yellow? The difference is that those are what we consider in the chakra world spiritual chakra colors. We started with 7 major chakras in the body. Those are physical chakras. And it used to be these first 3 were the physical world, these top 3, 5, 6, and 7 were the spiritual world, and then the 4th chakra was the fulcrum, holding or balancing the physical world to the spiritual world. When we bring in spiritual chakra vibration, What that means is every single chakra has a physical aspect of itself and a spiritual aspect of itself. And so those harmonious colors, the apricots and the tangerines and the magentas, I love the magentas, and the limes and the turquoise, all of those become the spiritual vibration within your body that is raising the energy and the frequency within your body yourself. So if you've started to feel, like more vibrant in the last maybe 10 years, 5 years, that's the reason. You've become more vibrant, the chakras are shifting and changing more, and all of these, the physical chakras and the spiritual chakras, are starting to have a relationship. All chakras have relationship within one another because they're not like separate like this, they're actually, they're linked in. So one always has to do something with the other one. That's just how they work. It's a system. So now we have a physical and a spiritual system that are starting to unite. And I don't know what else to say about that. Did you guys have any questions about what just was said? Yeah.
So are you saying that our chakras change color over time?
Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes what I'll find when I'm working on someone is they may still be working with a lot of physical aspects within first chakra, so that may be more of a red tone. I may get up to the third chakra and it may start to go into the lime zone. Third chakra, so that might be a little more limey. The seventh chakra might be a little more lavender than a deep purple, okay? Or it may be more of an indigo as we get into the throat. So not everyone has straight physical chakra colors or frequencies. Not everyone yet has just spiritual chakra colors or frequencies. You'll find within the body that there's going to be a combination of the two.
Yeah. So are they evolving more for like individuals as opposed to like as a species? Everyone's evolving.
Everyone's evolving.
Everyone's evolving.
Everyone's evolving, whether they want to or not.
And why do you think that is?
Because I think it's time for us to evolve. I think we came here to evolve. I don't think we came here to kill one another. Yeah.
So I know you do the energy healing and the Reiki. So how do you incorporate that into your practice if you're sort of like now you have to shift your mind to think about different things and see different things, and how do you now interpret like the purpose of the chakras? Because before, I think, at least I learned that it's supposed to be like an upward movement. That was kind of what I learned.
What do you mean by upward movement?
Like it's supposed to go from physical to spiritual here.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're saying, there's a parallel, that it exists side by side in our
Simultaneously, it's existing.
simultaneously.
Correct.
And people are shifting into this new color, right? So how do you heal now? Like, because I think I've done that,
Mm-hmm.
tried to like do an up thing, but you're talking about that not being the movement anymore.
Well, it is the movement.
It's still
We're
the
just
movement.
making the frequency, because once you go from primary and secondary colors, we bring a third or a fourth color in and it becomes harmonics. And we bring the spiritual aspect or frequency, because remember it's frequency, we bring the spiritual frequency now in if we relate it to color. What's going to start to happen is you're going to have things like pearlescence that gets added. You'll have things like opalescence that gets added. I mean, sometimes I'll see a chakra and it's like a full rainbow that's already reflecting, which is the Buddhic nature. So I think that, because I know you're doing healing work on yourself. And what's going to happen is the chakras that need to be adjusted, you will get that client in that has that chakra that needs that adjustment. And as you work with a client, that as you adjust the client, you're adjusted. Because there's a parallel that's happening between you and the client. Okay? And so as you work and shift the frequency within yourself, what will happen is the higher you vibrate, the higher the client will vibrate as they come in to see you. And that's a good way to also tell. It's like if you get one that's like, you'll like go, oh, I've got something to work on.
I'm burnt. Yeah.
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 So Play it with yourself first and start. Are you clairvoyant? Do you see or do you?
No.
How do you sense the frequency or the energy in your client?
I think it just like comes to me.
So clairsentience then?
Clairsentience,
Something like
claircognizance?
that, you know.
Okay.
Just like a feeling from the body itself.
So as
Yeah.
you start to get that, does anyone else do healing work? Do you do clairsentience? I know you do. Do you? Smart ass. When you start to get those pictures of that knowingness, start to focus on the client's chakra and see if you can start to see it.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So because they're tools, all the clairs are tools anyway. So use it as a tool and see if it will interpret for you what's happening in a client's body.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't.
Yeah.
That's
so
a good one to
so
work
play with
on.
it, yeah. And that will start to accelerate the energy within 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th chakra for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I'll keep asking.
Go.
Okay, so I know the three of us were all raised pretty religious, and now we're all starting to get to an age where we're kind of like opening our minds to other aspects of the world and becoming curious and excited
Okay.
for new things. And you know, we love this shop and we've loved any meditation we've ever attended, but we've never experienced like crystal healing. And so, could you explain anything about like how you would align a chakra or like what exactly that process